Good evening, and welcome back to a new episode of From Idea to Impact, the show that explores the journeys of entrepreneurs turning their ideas into real-world change. This week's episode is a special edition episode. Tonight, we're going to highlight all the stories of the entrepreneurs that we covered from episodes 1 to 10. You'll hear about their journeys, their ups and downs, and everything they had to go through to get started in their successful businesses that they all have today. If you haven't seen these episodes in full, they're still available. Feel free to watch them anytime you want. But tonight, we're going to highlight all the stories of how these entrepreneurs plan to make an impact in the future. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Which can be a double-edged sword. I take that into my photography. So I look at my work and I'll say, okay, how could I have done that better? How can I improve on that? Okay, this looks great, but how can I make it pop? How can I make a greater impact? So that is one of the things that I've actually taken into my photography, which has really helped because, you know, I look at things through different lenses, from different perspectives. And I always am striving to be a better artist, to be, you know, better at what I do. And that has absolutely helped me with, you know, improving my my photography.
You know, that's very unique, especially in this day and age, because anybody nowadays think they could pick up a camera, become a photographer, because they saw it on social media. They think it's trendy and cool. Not so much anymore. You know, I think over time, I think those people are kind of fell by the wayside. But
Absolutely.
I love to hear the fact that you take this approach. You use perfection and angles and everything that you do to make sure that the person or your client gets a quality image. Because a lot of times people just take the shots, don't do any edits, don't do anything, and then they post it. But a lot of the times people don't know what to expect from a professional photographer.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad you take the time and share that approach with us so that everybody knows if they need, including myself, you know, you're the guy to come to. You're the guy to come to.
Actually, another thing too, services are very, very important. And what I've found is a lot of people who take pictures, for whatever reason, they don't think that they're great in front of the camera. They shy away from taking pictures. They believe they can't pose. So one of the things that you have to do is you have to affirm. You got to make sure that you build them up, you know? So I definitely try to create a rapport with my clients. So the first thing that we do before we even do a shoot is we have a consultation. And it's basically me getting to know that person, knowing their personality, because you want to make sure that whatever pictures you take represents who they are, and you're not just like creating this false identity of who they are. So, you know, during the consultation, you'll talk to them, get an idea of exactly who they are, what they like, what they don't like, what kind of music they like. So when it comes time for the shoot, I am constantly having conversation with them throughout the shoot, getting them real comfortable. I'll play their music, you know, whatever their jams are, we put that music on. And we just create that atmosphere. And the feedback that I've gotten is like, man, Dwayne, you just made me feel so comfortable. I didn't even feel like I was taking pictures. I forgot about the fact that I'm taking pictures.
I've started, like I usually tell people, I can show them 35 business cards or something that didn't work. And then they look at this one, you know, look at the network, they look at what I'm doing, they're like, oh, you got it right. Like, nah, this took me a while to figure out this.
Exactly.
So what's one challenge you want to share with us tonight as far as that you had to go through starting your company?
Honestly, it was just learning how to just manage myself.
Okay.
The most difficult challenging part was the self-discipline that you need to build a business, not just start it. You know, starting it is just, you know, going and get your LLC and you have a business started. But ultimately, like, your focus had to be on building it. And my biggest struggle was just managing my time properly, staying disciplined, and understanding that it's a bigger picture.
Listen, so that's one challenge. I know a lot of other challenges facing trucking. I know a couple other people that want to get into trucking, which we'll talk about, which you got your seminar or your panel this weekend. But the trucking industry could be very competitive. What are some things that you're doing with your company to stay ahead of the game in trucking?
So honestly, just manipulating the boards, just manipulating the lanes. We would say in the trucking industry,
Okay.
Meaning not doing nothing and out of the norm and illegal, but just find a way to not stay one track.
Okay.
We live in the New England area, which is by far one of the worst areas to be in the trucking industry in this nation. And you have to be real detailed with how you navigate your business in the New England area, because you have so many obstacles. You have, not only do you have your regular tolls once you leave the state of Connecticut.
Okay.
You have not only tolls, but you have high insurance rates because you're in the state of Connecticut. Small things like that, trying to figure out the best dollar amount that will make you happy, not necessarily what will make the industry happy.
So before we get started, Patrice, can you tell us a little bit about both your businesses, The Woman Within You and Diversity Now?
Sure. So let's start with The Woman Within You. So things kind of happen to me by accident. Whenever I tell people that, they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah. So one day I was feeling very, very down. And I was just like, am I the only person feeling like this? Am I the only mother, wife, career woman that's just feeling down, feeling like I had no purpose? Yeah, we go to work every day, but I truly felt like I had no purpose. And so I started an online forum called The Woman Within You to explore how we are as women from within. So that kind of merged and branched. Again, it was just an online forum for us to just talk about our feelings as being a wife, mother, and having a career and trying to balance it all. And it turned into a business because I started to host events. I started to do a lot of women's empowerment work under this umbrella of The Woman Within You. And so that started in 2018. Again, just birthing out of just thinking that I had no purpose at all, and just knowing that I can't be alone in this. And so I would host events for women, and the men were like, wait a minute, what about us?
That's true. That's true.
And so I'm like, well, I can't do men's empowerment because I'm not a man. So I can't speak to your scenarios, but I can refer you, right? That birthed Diversity Now. So,
did not know that.
Right.
Did not know that.
So, Diversity Now, people always ask me for resources. So they say, hey, do you know somebody who could do my resume for me? Or can you take a look at my resume for me? Or can you come and speak at this school to these students? And I'm always like, me? And this started years ago, and years ago. And it's so interesting that you're on a path and you're on a trajectory that you don't even know you're on.
That's the beauty of it. That's the
beauty. It's the beauty of it.
You don't realize it until it's there.
Yes. So Diversity Now is truly consulting on career and empowerment and workshops for teens and kids so that they can find out who they are and that they have a place in this world. And so I have those two organizations that I absolutely adore and that are my babies.
What inspired you to start Juice Healer?
What inspired me to start Juice Healer was health issues I had myself. I used to suffer from real bad acid reflux. So instead of taking the pills every day, I just started to look up natural remedies for it. So I discovered what I can put into a juice to actually help my issue instead of taking pills every day. And also twofold, I discovered ways to help my family get the intake fruits and vegetables in a healthy and tasty manner.
So I'm actually definitely a customer of Juice Healer. And like most businesses, we usually start with a problem, and most impactful businesses usually start with when we have an issue or something ourselves. So I definitely applaud you in going through this journey. Next question would be, what are some challenges you have faced when starting your company, Juice Healer?
Some challenges I faced starting Juice Healer was trying to spread the word about my business, the juice cold pressed juices. So I would tell a lot of people would say, let me check my doctor, see if it's okay. Or they would say, oh, that might be nasty. I wouldn't want to try it. So I kind of gave them samples. Said, just try it. Just try it. If you like it, if you don't, type thing. And there's always get the question, let me check with my doctor. But it's kind of like, do you check with your doctor when you're going to any place else, fast food restaurants? You don't read the labels on half the stuff you eat, but It's strictly fruits and vegetables, 100%, nothing added.
So that's always a skepticism most people have when they're starting something new, which is kind of weird, like you said, because everybody goes to fast food restaurants, they never ask, they grab the bag of chips at the grocery store, they never read the ingredients. But when but when someone's actually trying to present them a healthy alternative to make their lives better, you're met with a lot of resistance. So that could definitely be a challenge in doing. So no, you also mentioned that it's cold pressed juice. So what's the difference between juicing, cold pressed juice? Break that down for us, please.
So the difference between regular juicing and cold press juicing. So regular juicing, it pretty much heats up the fruits and vegetables, so you lose a lot of the nutrients, a lot of the minerals in the actual juice. Versus cold press juice, it doesn't heat it up; it keeps it cold, or it keeps a regular temperature. It keeps it cold, and you get all 100% of the fruits and vegetables in it. And you also get a lot more juice out of a cold presser.
I think it's that right there, as you just said. I think I needed that as a kid. I was a kid that grew up not in a sports family. My dad was a pastor. My mom was HR director, um, and so I didn't really come from a sports family. I had two older sisters, so but I just loved basketball. I don't know where. Like I think my sisters, uh, I think used to play basketball. They weren't like great or anything, but during the half times of their games when I was much younger, like 4 or 5, I was just go out there and start shooting. Then my mom had to give me a hoop, and then once I got the hoop, it was over. Like I put the hoop in the garage if it got cold out, or I'll just be out there 6 o'clock in the morning, and neighbors complaining, and so it was just kind of bred in me, and so you can substitute basketball with any kind of interest or talents that kids have. And so, um, sports, there's so many different transferable skills that sports allows us, former athletes and current athletes, to be successful in other areas in our lives, so especially professionally. The leadership, the dedication, the teamwork, the time management, you know, the coachability. So these are things that, like I said, transfer into us being successful in other areas of our lives. So the story behind and the reason Impact was created was to support that and to uphold that um, to a standard of consistency and efficiency, to where we're keeping kids busy, we're keeping them safe, we're utilizing their interests and their talents, but then also addressing needs and providing resources and providing support in other areas of their lives. Because how many times do you see a sports person not really make it because, all right, well, yeah, they got the talent, but him or her may not have the grades or may not have the family stability or foundation that allows them to be successful in school, to be able to get it done and qualified and stuff like that. So that's why it was created. I was a kid that was like in cultivating a village, a sports village. Back then, like programming and recreation was really strong. It was everything. There was a league to do every week, and uh, following that, there was AAU, and then there's church leagues, and then there's camps, and there was just so much to do. So I'm a um, just a combination and a collective of all those experiences that I've had that I know made me successful, not just sports, but in life. And I'm just trying to redistribute that in my own way, in my new way, using my leveraging of connections um, and my spaces that I occupy personally and professionally, with some people that can help me help make change. And so I think also a part of that is to inspire kids to that you can make change in your own way, and um, that success can look in different ways, based on how you spread yourself, and you hone in, cultivating the other areas of your life. And so that's pretty much what was the inspiration of starting Impact. It was I'm a product of a large village that helped me coaches, trainers, mentors, um, peers, parents in the community. Um, so I'm just trying to use that village and kind of spread it to the next generation.
Listen, I love that because the whole community aspect. I love the fact that you mentioned that you're getting back to that. I know growing up, we had constant things to do. Now kids nowadays is kind of like, oh, you want to play basketball? You want to do this? There's lack of motivation, and I know just in the school system alone, it's just hard to get kids motivated. So if you're taking the educational component, matching it with the interest that they're actually in, I think these kids will have a phenomenal experience within you. There's a lot of highs, there's a lot of lows. Most people don't like to talk about the lows. So what's one or two things that were high or one or two things that were low, just in your journey of starting this business or organization?
Brother, it's a great question. The low, I would say, when you starting out with something, you're so motivated and inspired and excited. And at the time when I was married, our finances wasn't, our needs were being met, but I was taking from our personal finance to invest in the ministry.
Hmm.
So I would tell the youth or anybody listening, don't do that because it put a strain on my divorce, on my marriage. I'm sorry. That wasn't the cause of our divorce, but it put a heavy strain and a burden on my family. So I would say wait till you're ready to fully, gradually invest in your dream and your business before you step out there. Take care of your four walls not in full, but take care of your four walls and then gradually build your vision, build your dream.
Okay.
So
Hey,
that
what's one
was
positive? What's one up?
yeah, so that was a heavy
Yeah.
low. But the positive, my wife at the time and I was in agreement that we was gonna put up our last, it was about $1,500 to birth our ministry. That things got rough, but we were in agreement. But me as a man, I failed in my duty because I should have saw that coming. The positive, I mean, is seeing the feedback from the youth, from the community, from people. And when I share this testimony that I'm sharing with you, it lets them know that I'm sincere about my ministry. I'm sincere about the Love brand. I'm sincere about the development of our youth, particularly young men of all races. So yeah, that was a high and that was a low. By the grace of God, we have been successful. We have been blessed. We have been tried to see if this is what we really want to do with the kingdom and then with the Love brand. So we just hanging in there and we staying low and we gradually building and building and building. I like to tell my staff, jazz was made in darkness, but it's everlasting. So it's classical music. So that's why, we working, we building, we laying a foundation.
You talk a lot about mental. Was there a point or a pivotal role or pivotal time in your life where the switch got flipped and decided, I want to transition to nutrition and wellness? Is this from personal experience? Is this from just the overall journey? Tell us a little bit about that.
So it started from personal experience. So several years back when I was near my heaviest, I was well over 300 pounds. And I was looking through some photos and I saw a recent picture, recent at that time, of myself, and I didn't recognize that person. And I literally looked at the picture and I was like, who is this? I don't even remember how I got to that point. And I just knew a change had to be made. For me at the time, there wasn't any health issues or concerns. So I think that's why it wasn't as noticeable as it is with some people that are heavier. So I wasn't on any medication. There was no disease, no illness or anything like that, but I didn't want it to get to that point. And I think a lot of times, when people want to catch it or people want to make decisions about it, it's more corrective than preventative. So I was trying to prevent myself from getting to that point. instead of having to go through the process of trying to get on medication, correcting it with diet and things like that. So I know I had spent so much time pouring into everything and everyone else, making everything else a priority, that I had forgot myself. And at that point, when I looked at that photo, I was just like, yeah, that's over now. So, so yeah.
All right. So that takes a lot of dedication, a lot of effort. How do you balance being a single mom? You know, get a little in depth with you. So how do you balance being a single mom, working on your own health and nutrition, coaching other people, being a full-time entrepreneur, being a full-time corporate employee? How do you balance everything?
So full transparency, is it really balancing?
That's what they call it, balance.
I feel like I feel like a better word to say is like, instead of trying to balance, like I'm trying to bring some kind of harmony to it, like be able to live with all of them, because they all may not get the same amount of time all the time. But for me, being a mom is first priority, because you can't quit that job. But I think time management is huge. Preparation and outsourcing or delegation. Because for me, in order for me to keep things in line and remember things, like everything is in my calendar. So whether it's a meeting, an appointment, a sports practice for my kid, or even my workouts, like they're all like scheduled in my calendar, to, you know, keep me on time, and also to not either overbook myself or double book myself because I didn't remember what happened to be going on that day. And then as far as preparation, I feel like meal prep would be huge in that category, because with everything that's going on, working a full-time job, being a mom, running a business, all of that during the week, you don't really know how much time you're going to get. So me thinking that I'm going to come home and cook a meal every day sounds like ludicrous to me. Like there's no way that's happening. It's like, what am I going to drive through today, like, and pick up, or what are we going to order? So to prevent all of that and to try to keep on track and eat meals that we cook at home, I meal prep for those reasons, because I don't have to worry about it during the week. One and done, grab it right out the fridge, or even if you prepare it ahead of time and throw them in the freezer, when you're in a jam one day, you can just pull that junk out the freezer. And then as far as outsourcing and delegation, I'm only one person, so I don't have time to do everything. So certain things like lawn work and landscaping and stuff like that, I pay for those services, because keeping it real, if I didn't, they probably would not get done, and my yard would look a mess.
Okay. So outsourcing is key.
One day, yes. So whatever you could, housekeeper, I've had one of those also. Like, it doesn't have to be somebody coming in every day. They don't even have to come in every week. If you can clean up here and there, and you just have somebody come in and deep clean once a month, that works too. But you know, one day I will have an assistant, but until then, we keep it moving.
So you and that day will definitely come sooner than later. You just watch.
I was always realizing that, man, this just, am I the only one that's out there? Am I the only one that's going through all these things? And I just started realizing when I joined Sober Recovery around 2022 that I wasn't. It was around other men who are around my age, a little bit older and things like that as well. And they were able to teach me a couple of things about like patience, understanding, letting go of the past, not being resentful towards people, choosing to forgive people who have done you wrong, and asking people for help, and, apologizing for the things that you did, because there's just so many of us. We do so many things. We're going so fast all the time, but we're not actually just sitting down. And oftentimes, not even just being still. We're not just being still and just trying to understand why we do the certain things that we do. And also, just one more thing, I used to work with kids with autism. So, kids who had learning disabilities, I was able to be more patient and kind and understanding to their needs. And just understanding the more and more I talk to people, whether it's men or women or children, that everybody's going through something in life. And I just try to be patient and understanding towards that, because with everybody going through this thing called life, you just understand that it's best just to be understanding to people and their needs and their feelings and their emotions.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I love the fact that you tied in working with kids with autism, and definitely, as an educator myself, that patience is key. So if you're able to apply that, especially when people are going through the different stages of recovery, I think that's an awesome and commendable feat that you're actually doing. Um,
Absolutely. So when I'm thinking back, I've always been somebody that's loved to try new things. During the pandemic, like everybody wanted to try something and learn something new, I actually opened up a podcast studio. So in that, I was able to really connect with people, figure out what they're really interested in, have them tell their story. And I found that that's really my main goal, is just to help people to be able to broadcast what they're interested in, what they love to do. Once the lights and the microphones turn on, people really are able to express themselves in a different way. And I really like being able to be that cog to help them facilitate. We want from the paper, this is what our podcast is going to look like. I want to talk about X. And then it really gets deeper when they see that there's growth in themselves. They started off in a situation where they're just nervous to talk, but then the light really turns on once they become comfortable and really be able to speak their message. We've had everybody from fitness enthusiasts start a podcast, really talk about their journey. One in particular that's had within maybe about a year, I'd known them, they had dropped about 100 pounds. So they really were motivating everybody that listened to their podcast that it is possible. Because I saw them one day, and then a year later, I see them again. They look like a whole different person. And now they're actually a fitness trainer. And it was all in the span of a year. So that was inspiring to me. And I know that everybody really has that story of change and transition. And it just takes somebody to kind of be that model for them, to let them know it's okay to dream and really go after their goal. So it started with the podcast studio, being able to help facilitate others. For me, starting that, I had taken a couple of production classes back years ago, but I really had to learn it from the ground up. So I had to learn how to use the mics, I had to learn the software, I had to figure out how to operate the cameras, the lighting, I had to get the studio space. So it was really just all part of the learning process. But for me, that was the best part. So I know that I was able to kind of pursue my dream there and then make it a reality. It all started from a notepad and pencil, and that was my lucid enlightenment period there. Just, you can kind of do whatever you want. Life is what you make it. So you really just got to figure out what that is, what your why is, and then really chase it down from there. And we really help you to get those steps and line them up in place so you can get exactly where you want to go.
So you mentioned before in your back history that this is an idea that came about with COVID, when everyone was uncertain about whether they're going into the office, going outside the office. Were there any other things that would spark your idea that, let me think, career coaching might be the way to go?
Absolutely. So when it comes to just really helping people, there was a period where everybody's had growing up that ideal job. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a space engineer. It's just when we get into that period, when we hit really that teenage years, it feels unrealistic because we don't know where we need to go, what steps we need to take, what training we need. So we kind of just get either lost in the rat race or we just forget about the dream altogether. So I'm really trying to pull that back out of people. It's not too late for you to change. If you're into wine, let's figure out how, if you want to open up a winery, what are our steps? Who do we need to connect with? And what's it going to look like when we map out our plan to really get to that goal? So I really like those that have the that factor where it seems impossible, but then really turning the light bulb in. Because like, let's say when it came to podcasts in particular, it really, what sold people was not just your general information about, okay, go read a book, this is a book I recommend. It was the people that were into like rare Pokemon cards or rare Ninja Turtles from the 1980s. It's really those niche that really got people interested. And people got to know that with every lane and every interest, there's always going to be a way to make money off of it. So I really like to help those special cases to be able to get to their ideal dream job. But then also some people really do have a dream of just being themselves. They love numbers. Okay, maybe accounting is the way to go. What classes do we need to take? What's really the training process, and how do we get certified? And then we kind of go through the steps from there. But there's no dream too big. And if it's what you enjoy to do, you'll never work a day. That's our motto, that we kind of crafted from the Confucius quote. But that's really what speaks to what we're all about. You think it, you dream it, you can do it.
Now, what does that mean? It means I started off working in a restaurant. I was 19 years old. I had a baby on the way. And my father, who you knew, said, hey, since you got a baby on the way, a job really might be a good idea instead of just following the Grateful Dead around like you want to and wearing tie-dye shirts and doing some other things. He told me a restaurant was hiring. I said, yeah, I'll go down there and apply. I'll never forget, I was listening to music. I felt that headphone come up off my ear. He said, put on a shirt with buttons, tie a tie, and get in the car right now. I went to a place called Macaroni Grill, West Hartford, Connecticut, and it was kind of a fast, casual place. I was thrown right into working a to-go station, literally taking orders and throwing them here, throwing them there. People coming in for their food. It's like, where's my food? I'm like, oh, let me bring that in now for you. But the beauty of the restaurant business is that I came in working to go, working as a host. And in the restaurant business, if you want to do any job there, be it server, bartender, or manager, the only thing you need to do is wait. I'm going to keep it 100. Somebody's going to be hungover and not come to work. Somebody's going to move to New York because they're dating somebody and they're going to go there and write the next new great American novel or play or album. Somebody's pissed at the manager from last night, so they're calling out tomorrow. But you get your shot simply by showing up every day. And I went from working a to-go stand to working tableside as a server. I did not look like anybody else there. And there was about half the staff that was like, who is this kid? He doesn't look like most of the place was very West Hartford, we'll call West it, Hartford. In the early 2000s. We'll call it
West Hartford. We know what that means. If you know what West Hartford is, you know what he's talking about. Go ahead.
And shout out to Weeha. There was someone there who just decided he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and he just started to mentor me. He asked me how old I was. I said 19. He said, but your mind is older. And then we start talking about M.A.D.E. I bring that up because the restaurant business, music is like kind of part and parcel to what we do. So we made a connection there, and he kind of showed me the ropes of serving. When I did it, I found I had a knack for it, and it wasn't because of anything besides wanting to give people an experience. I knew then something just let me know this person is here and they really want this salmon. It seems really important to them. It seems really important to them that they get this right glass of wine. I don't know why it's important, but whatever they need, I'm going to try to do it. And I found out a cheat code. 95% of people, when you go out for service, are there biding their time. For whatever reason, be it past trauma, be it future fear, they're not able to put themselves into what they're doing. There's reasons for that are for another show. Those of us who do put some intention into what we're doing, we rise to the top immediately. I just knew from the beginning that I was good at what I did because